If you don't like boring news but still crave the truth, then dive into The Robert and Crew Show. From mind-bending conspiracy theories to wild weather phenomena, we've got it all. Ever wondered what's really happening in your hometown, or what secrets the global news isn't telling you? We dig deep into the core of every story, unraveling the mysteries one podcast at a time. Join Robert and the crew as we navigate this vibrant, ever-changing cyberpunk landscape, bringing you interviews with the most intriguing minds out there. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, a news junkie or a weather enthusiast, there's something here for you. So strap in, listeners, because we're about to take you on a ride through the neon-lit alleys of truth and intrigue. This is the Robert and Crew Show, where the future meets the fantastic.
Welcome back to the Robert and Crew Show. As always, I'm Robert.
And I'm Crew.
And I'm Julie.
Tonight we have Julie here with us. How are you doing tonight, Julie?
I'm good.
And how are you doing tonight, Crew?
I'm doing good. I know last night I was so exhausted, so I couldn't show up last night. But here I am.
The people keep asking where you end up, bro. They're like, how come Crew is not on the Robert and Crew Show? Where is Crew? Crew's a big part of the show.
Okay, so let me explain, guys. Look, Robert will tell you this. I have a very busy life at times. One, where I'm juggling school and work and home life. So there's times where if I don't show up, it's because I'm probably asleep.
Yeah. All
Like,
right, well,
Robert
guys,
called me last night and I was already asleep, and I was like, what?
yes, you were already asleep because I called, you picked up the phone, you sounded delirious, and I just let you go back to bed. But anyways, guys, besides Crew passing out, not feeling good, not being on the show for like 4 times this season, we're gonna make this quick. But anyways, I got some quick news. I'm sure as all of you guys have heard, Pope Francis died today, April 21st, 2025 at 7:35 a.m. local time, in his Vatican residence, at Case Santa Marta, aged 88. The Vatican announced his death, attributing it to a stroke, coma, and irreversible cardiovascular collapse. So basically, his heart fell apart. Compounded by prior health issues, including bilateral pneumonia, bronchitis, hypertension, and type 2 diabetes. His passing came a day after he appeared in St. Peter's Square for Easter Sunday Mass, delivering a blessing despite his frail condition. Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Camerlingo, officially confirmed the death and presided over the rite of certification in the Casa Santa Marta Chapel. The Vatican has sealed Francis's apartments, and his body is expected to lie in state at St. for public viewing. Unlike his predecessors, Francis requested a simplified funeral, to be held in a single wooden zinc coffin and buried at Santa Mary Marjorie Basilica in the Salice Popule Romani icon. The funeral is anticipated within 4 to 6 days, followed by a 9-day mourning period known as the Novum Dialis. World leaders, including U.S. President Donald Trump, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, and Argentinian President Javier Milei have expressed condolences through Francis, had past tensions with some, notably over immigration policies. Tributes highlight his humility, advocacy for the poor, and efforts to reform the Catholic Church. His progressive stance sparked division amongst the traditionalists. The College of Cardinals will begin general congregation tomorrow, April 22nd, to plan the funeral and prepare for the conclave, set to start 15 to 20 days later, where 135 cardinal electors will choose his successor. There is no clear frontrunner, but Francis' appointment of nearly 80% of the electors suggests his progressive legacy may influence the next pope. So, how are we feeling about the Pope's death, crew?
It's it's a shock, but we already know he had bad health issues, and it's coming close to the time where some say via prophecy he's the last pope.
And what does that mean?
So it was shown in one of the Vatican episodes we did
Mm-hmm.
where there's this place that has pictures of each pope, right? And I guess a book as well. I can't remember on that part, but I'll have to find the video sometime and show it.
Uh-huh.
But
Well,
the pope that just passed away is the very last ever pope, and then in 2027 will be the day of the apocalypse.
okay. So that's just a prophecy that's been foretold.
By the Vatican.
Okay.
It's called the Pope. I think it's called the Pope prophecy or the Pope theory. I'll have to relook at it, but it's. I'm hoping it's just a theory or not.
I mean, I think we
not
all are. I don't think anybody wants the apocalypse to happen,
right.
especially in 2027.
Right.
Doesn't give us very long to live.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Julie, how are you feeling about the Pope's death?
I was surprised. I mean, I knew he had bad health, but I was kind of surprised that it happened this morning and right after Easter and everything.
I think that was the
Um,
craziest thing for me was that it happened right after Easter, and it makes me think that if there is a God, that's some sort of sign. Like,
yeah,
why would the Pope mysteriously? Well, I guess it wasn't mysterious. His health conditions, his heart basically just gave out and fell apart. But why would it happen right after Easter? Like, like God wanted him to stay alive during Easter. Like he had to be alive during Easter to give thanks to Jesus Christ. Like he had to be. So
yeah,
like that's insane to me because it's kind of like when people find Bibles after a fire at a house and the Bible is the only book in the entire house that didn't burn. The front of it's like charred, but none of the pages are burnt. None of them.
yeah,
It's perfect. That's basically what happened was Pope Francis was perfect yesterday and then didn't wake up this morning.
yeah.
It's crazy. So tonight, guys, we are going to be doing Terra Infinita Part 2. Crew and I have been on this subject now for probably a year, and we've talked about it, and we both find it very intriguing. We know it's based off of a fictional story, which Crew's actually going to read 2 chapters of tonight. We read a chapter last time we were on. We read the first chapter. Tonight we'll be reading the second and the third chapter. I'm going to go into a little bit of history on Terra Infinita real quick so that everybody can actually understand where Terra Infinita comes from. And it's pretty cool actually. But so I hope you guys are as interested in this as I am cuz this stuff is actually pretty cool. And ever since I got onto it, I got Crew onto it and he's been all about it. But basically, Terra Infinita is an expansive, interconnected cosmological framework encompassing about 178 distinct dome worlds, each enclosed with a greater dome structure that encapsulates our reality. The intricate map known as the Terra Infinita map reveals its universe where the Earth, which by the way, guys, this is the Terra Infinita map. So those are the 178 domes, or sorry, was it 178 or 100? Yeah, 178 domes. The greater dome structure that encapsulates our reality, the intricate map known as the Terra Infinita map, reveals a universe where Earth, referred to as the heart, is but one of many worlds, each separated by ice walls, firmaments, and other elemental barriers. These dome worlds house diverse civilizations, species, and landscapes connected through ancient pathways and advanced technologies, such as those provided by the Hull Uric beings. The map serves as a guide to these realms, detailing their unique characteristics, their inhabitants, and their histories, which have been preserved by the Great Ancestral Library database and explored by figures like Helen, a leader of the ancestral humans, and her father, the navigator William Morris. The history of Terra Infinita is rooted in cycles of human and extraterrestrial interaction. Marked periodic resets have obscured much knowledge from mainstream understanding. The map's origins trace back to ancient times, with its knowledge safeguarded by the Ancestral Republic, a civilization beyond the ice walls of Antarctica. Explorations beginning with figures like Magellan in 1578, who crossed the ice walls, revealed that other worlds and other inhabitants over centuries. Various expeditions by nations like Brazil, the UK, and the Soviet Union and the United States have uncovered additional dome worlds, species and conflicts, shaping a complex tapestry of interworld relations. The most recent explorations, led by Helen and aided by Cassiopean beings, have further expanded humanity's understanding of these realms, uncovering previously unvisited worlds and their secrets. Um, the key dome worlds are Earth, obviously. Description for it is basically it's the central dome world, considered the origin point of humanity within the Great Dome. It's surrounded by ice walls that separate it from other worlds. It's inhabited by humans, and they're the dominant species. They live in diverse societies. Earth is also home to hidden knowledge about the other domes preserved in ancient texts and other traditions. The notable features of Earth, the ice walls of Antarctica serve as a gateway to other dome worlds and pathways explored by navigators like William Morris and Magellan. Dion, Dione, or the lands of Saturn. The description of the lands of Saturn is a continent within the lands of Saturn conquered by Brazil in 1894. Its lush, resource-rich dome with towering crystalline structures. The daemons inhabit the lands of Saturn, a humanoid species with advanced metallurgical skills. They coexist with human settlers. The Daemians are known for their trade networks and other domes. Notable features: the dome contains reflective lakes that mirror the firmament and is used by navigation for Daemian sailors. And then we have Brahma. Brahma is a dome world that was conquered by the UK and the United States, characterized by vast plains and sacred groves. Its inhabitants are the custodians, a powerful and ancient species that maintain order, guard ancient technologies, and human colonies. They have integrated with the custodian societies through tensions. Oh, sorry, they have integrated with custodian societies through tensions persist. And then the notable features: the Sacred Archives, a repository of interdome knowledge, is located here. And then we have the Second Earth. So the Second Earth was invaded by the Soviet Union in 1935. The dome mirrors the Earth's geography, but with altered climates and biomes. The inhabitants are colonians, a species capable of rapid adaptation, where they were initially hostile but allied with humans by 1986 to combat other threats. They are semi-humanoid with chameleonic traits. The notable features: the dome is scarred by war, with remnants of Colonian fortress dotting the landscape. And then we have Ira, or Lands of Mars. The description: a U.S. territory since 1975. Era is arid dome with crimson deserts and ancient ruins. The inhabitants of the lands of Mars are the Artesians, a nomadic species with telepathic abilities that share the dome with human researchers studying Martian relics. Notable features of the lands of Mars: the ruins of Arindor, believed to predate the last reset, contain inscriptions about dome connectivity. And then we have Skade and the Miser worlds. They were discovered in 2022 by Henry Atlin. These twin domes are icy and mountainous with bioluminescent flora. The inhabitants are Pulmians, a bioluminescent species with a hive-like social structure. They are traders and explorers who have mapped out much of the Great Dome's spaces. The notable features are the crystal caverns of Skade House, the Pulmian archives detailing their travels to uninhibited domes. Then we have Asgard. It's a war-torn dome invaded by the Custodians in 2015, known for its golden plains and towering citadels. Its inhabitants are gods and humans and custodians. They all clash here. With later maintaining fortified strongholds, the humans and gods population includes descendants of early explorers. Notable features is the Hades Bridge, which no longer stands. A strategic choke point near Atos was a focal point of the 2015 to 2018 war in Asgard. And then we have the lands of Nimma. They were claimed after 2018 victory over the Custodians. This dome features vibrant jungles and floating islands. The inhabitants are Mercurians, a winged species, and Shedoranians, traders with empathic abilities that dominate this dome. Humans have established outposts and study the floating ecosystems. The sky temples were built by the Mercurians, and they are centers of spiritual and technological exchange. And then we have the island of Reptilla, or the island of the reptiles. It's a tropical dome with dense jungles, volcanic peaks, explored in recent expeditions. Some say dinosaurs still live there. The inhabitants are reptilian aliens that are highly intelligent species with advanced bioengineering. They live in harmony with dinosaurs and inside the dome's ecosystem. They are cautious of human contact. Notable features are obsidian spires, giant volcanoes, natural formations, and reptilian rituals, and they emit harmonic frequencies. Then, last but not least, we have the toxic lands. It's uninhabited dome with corrosive atmosphere and barren wastelands with rivers of acid. Discovered in 1999. Its inhabitants, none. Nobody can live here, not even the Colonians or the Custodials. Gods do not stand a chance. This land is completely uninhabitable. Nobody has ventured here for resource extraction because resource extraction is proven not to be viable. The notable features is the acidic rivers that look like veins. Underground rivers of toxic liquid and blood are studied for their chemical properties. And then actually we do have one more that they're going to talk about, which is the Darklands. The Darklands, the description of the Darklands is a dimly lit dome with perpetual twilight explored by the Soviet expeditions in 1973. Its inhabitants are the Jupiter Enites, shadowy creatures with telekinetic abilities, and Synelite and Surlonites, bioluminescent humanoids that glow and coexist in the delicate balance. Notable features: the Eclipse Towers, massive structures that harness the dome's faint light and are sacred to the inhabitants. And the inhabitants also are known with the lands of the forgotten humans. It was discovered in 2022 by Henry Atlas. This dome is home isolated to human tribes that are unaware of other worlds, including Earth. The inhabitants are forgotten humans. They're descendants of pre-reset explorers. They live in primitive societies with oral histories of the Great Dome. None of them wear clothes. The stone circles ancient megaliths align with the firmament's patterns, suggesting astronomical knowledge. And that is the main domes that Terra Infinita goes over. But that's a little bit of history of Terra Infinita and the different domes in different lands where some of these creatures exist. A lot of these creatures are humans or they are humanoid. Some of them we could even consider alien, such as the reptiles. We always hear about reptilians, so like creatures that are here that can basically cloak themselves as humans. We like to think a lot of them probably work in politics, which is absolutely hilarious. That
Right.
lizard people work in politics. But no, like it's pretty interesting that all of these domes have their very own stories, and they all have like quite a few of them have their own inhabitants that are different species. Some of them are even bioluminescent that glow. Could you imagine running into a bioluminescent human? Its entire body is just glowing and it's see through. Oh my god, that'd be crazy.
That would be.
You think,
Well,
God,
also the Darklands are home to, which you did not mention.
hey
Hello,
Brandon,
Brandon. Uh, the Darklands are also home to the Pythians, which we will go over in one of the videos that I did send to you tonight, Robert. Um,
I'm really kind of interested in the toxic lands about how like the toxic land like how did the toxic lands become so toxic? How did they
right,
get literal rivers of acid that look like veins and rivers of blood? Like
right. That is an
toxic land,
interesting one.
that's really freaking weird. Like I'd like to know the stories behind that.
But before I go over, well, before we go over those lands, which we will cover in different parts, um, I'm going to go and read the second chapter, which is called The Great Dome.
Okay.
All right. Here, be-
Wait 1 second. We didn't ask Julie how she felt about the different dome worlds that we just talked about.
oh, yeah, good point.
Um, I find it very interesting, and it reminded me of a book I had to read in high school. I don't know if I can remember the exact name of it. I don't know if it was The Hobbit, if it was that one,
It could have been The Hobbit, yeah. That was like
but it
J.R.R.
reminds me a lot of that. And because I had to read that book, and a
Brandon.
lot of it kind of reminding me of some of these different things.
Yeah, so
I don't know if that's exactly.
what's the one that speaks the most to you? There was the lands of Mars, there was the ones that the dark island or whatever, the dark dome, and then you had the Earth and Earth 2. You have um
The
what's the
lands
other
of Saturn, you got the lands of
land
Nebula.
Jupiter. They called Jupiter and the Nebula one a different name. They didn't call them Jupiter, but I knew that what they were because of the creatures that live on them. One of
Zeus,
them named the Juperarians or something. The Jupiterians.
they have the lands of Zeus.
Yeah, but which one that we talked about a minute ago spoke the most to you, or you could
Uh,
relate the most with?
I think it was. Well, I've always thought Mars was interesting and Jupiter,
Yeah, the
and
Mars
then
one. Could you imagine if Mars really like if this map is real and Mars is really like just a couple maybe 100,000 miles that way. And the reason why the rockets, when they shoot these rockets up in the air, the reason they curve is not only because of the firmament, but it's because they're trying to curve over the ice wall. I've thought
That's
about it.
interesting.
I'm like, yeah, they're probably actually trying to go to the lands of Mars and not trying to go to Mars.
Yeah, because I mean that's interesting. I just never thought of that until y'all started talking about it, and then the toxic lands where all those animals, not no humanoids, but the animals. What type of animals? Like alligators, strange
Well,
creatures, or
did it say there was animals in the toxic lands?
No,
I,
it's uninhabited.
yeah, I thought it
uninhabited?
was completely
Okay,
uninhabited. So
And
okay. I
the
think
dark
the
one, the dark one's called the Darklands.
yeah, and they can't.
okay.
So the toxic lands has a lot of like rare minerals, but nobody can mine there because it's uninhabitable and it's not viable. So basically, if you
Mm,
go to the toxic lands, you die. Like you just
Automatically.
okay.
die. Yeah, because it's so bad there. Like we can't survive. So
Is
and
there? It wasn't there one that had the animals or some type of creature?
yes, yes, there were a couple. There was one that had bacteria that was bioluminescent, and then there was another one that had multiple animals, and that was Earth 1 and Earth 2.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, Earth
Because
1 is
that was
where
kind of interesting too.
Earth 1 is where we live. Earth 2 is supposed to be directly south of the ice wall. So like if we were to go over the ice wall south, that is where Earth 2 would be. And then next to Earth 2, we actually have another Earth called Land of the Clones. And Land of the
Hmm.
Clones is basically, so supposedly, according to Terra Infinita, Land of the Clones is where there are literal carbon copies of me, you, and crew, and everybody else in the world there, but they're working as slaves.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's supposedly the land of the clones. And then the other Earth is inhabited by humans, but an older civilization of humans. And a lot of people believe it to be the Maya because the Maya just kind of disappeared. The Maya and the Aztec, they just disappeared. We don't have all of the bodies that we should have if they all died.
Very
But
interesting.
anyways, yeah, it's super interesting. But anyways, crew, start on your chapters.
All right, chapter 2, the Great Dome. Before going into each of the worlds, it is necessary to make a caveat and clarify what the Great Dome
Maybe,
means.
Brandon. Maybe. Did you see what Brandon said? I wonder if Land of the Clones is where the Clones Wars happened from Star Wars.
Nyeh, that's funny. Okay, means and what we mean when we mention it. The Great Dome, or so called the end of the known, is that which covers and encloses in some way all the other known worlds. Very few were able to see this end and even touch it. It can it be really be touched. Moreover, it is said that the same experiments were made but to be able to cross it, but it was not possible. Hold on. I gotta fix my glasses. My glasses is being stupid right now.
What's wrong with your glasses? They fogging all up?
Yeah, and my dumbass cap would not stop shaking the fucking bed when he's scratching too.
Bro, your cat is always causing problems, just like my little furry friend.
Right.
He's always causing problems. My little furry friend's asleep right now, thank the Lord. He's not running amok around my house.
Oh, here's where I left off. Moreover, it is said that some experiments were made to be able to cross it, but it was not possible. It is the terror of several colonizing civilizations that do not sleep peacefully, since any race from outside could take away from them from one day to the other. The power that they maintain and the hierarchical pyramid
The
that
hierarchical. The
yeah, the
hierarchy.
hierarchical. Thank you.
Yeah.
The hierarchical pyramid that they said themselves built during history. Another world that generates terror for them is the celestial lands. But we will have time in to detail these mysterious places that has a great relationship with the human beings. In this great dome, there are 178 worlds or circle environments, which in turn may have one or several domes that also enclose them with their different climates and civilizations. Penetrating.
So what Crew is talking about right now, I have on the screen. This map is all 178 domes.
Mhm.
Now, of course, you're not going to be able to count them because you can't zoom into this map, but this is the exact map that Crew is talking about. This is the 178 domes of Terra Infinita. Sorry, continue.
Okay. Penetrating these domes of each circle is not an easy task. As time went by, the technique was perfected, and now there is a lot of technology to carry it out. But this was developed exclusively by colonizing races. Many other races explored surrounding these worlds were simply the independent lands or lacking domes, as it, independent lands lacking domes. Um, these
Yeah.
domes are almost impossible to cross via air, and almost always another way is thought by land. But the most common is that it can be done through water, which is where they are more easily found the way to open passages that can connect to the inner outer worlds, almost like two membranes in any cell, functioning as a barrier that can allow at any certain time the passage. Where you have greater control to be able to penetrate some specific domes, it can be done via air without much inconvenience, although it can be quite dangerous for reasons that we will not well that we will see later. Much later, many portals were found in several circle environment connecting even several of the worlds. The manipulation of these portals was so great that many problems were caused, and some became unstable, making them beings have disappeared without knowing where they really went, or if this caused that their matter has disintegrated. Today, it is common to find beings in full development of portals that can connect certain areas within the Great Dome with, without our, without even having been able to penetrate it. When we speak of the 178 worlds, we are not referring to the independent lands that exist between worlds. These are lands that exist and were used by various races when they would go outside. In fact, it is said that these lands exist to avoid long distances that connect the worlds. It is fervently believed that the worlds were made to investigate them, and that all of us, in one way or another, are going to go outside to look for our freedom, to know the other races, and to be able to enter someday in what can be found in the celestial lands, as well as behind the Great Dome. That's chapter 2.
Okay, so explain to them this.
Okay,
Do you see this?
yes. Okay, so this is ours. So in the white circle, which is Antarctica, the ice wall, the known lands, which is United States, South America, Australia,
The
Europe,
normal.
Russia, all of Earth. Then outside of the white ice wall is you got Geminia, Asgard, Patia, Librius, the lands of Thoth, Ancestral Republic, the ancient lands of Enoch, and whatever those seas are called. And then you got the mountain ring, which is another.
The Neptunia seas, I think.
Yeah, I don't
Neptune.
know.
The nut
Neptune.
the nut
Yeah,
Neptune.
you got the Neptune Ocean, and then you got the mountain ring, which is another ice, another wall,
And then
and then
right over that you got Ados. You
yeah,
have Ados right here that we can see, and then you have the Solitaire Ocean.
yeah.
Um,
So all
if
this,
if you see the Atlantic Ocean, according to this map, the Atlantic Ocean is literally part of the Neptune Sea. Like it straight up is. It's a part of the Neptune Sea. It's the same
hmm
color as the Neptune Sea. And
hmm
then by Gemini, we have this other like I think all of these are just the Neptune Sea right here. I think I think the ice wall is just guarding the Neptune Sea from rupturing us because it would drown us.
yeah.
Yeah, the if the Neptune Sea was doing what it appears to be doing,
Well,
I think it would just end up
here's the
drowning us.
problem. Here's the problem about the no lands. Okay, so do you see those openings on each side?
Yeah,
So those are basically how you would venture out.
yeah, we have a summer gate, and then the I can't
You got
read it.
the
There's like four openings in our wall.
you got
We
Summer's Gate, which basically is the only one that opens when it's really warm during the summertime.
have
Then you got
right here
the
literally a stream.
Leviathan Gate. You have the Leviathan Gate.
There's a
Um,
stream too. So right next to the Summers Gate, like if you go down where it says Antarctic Ring, and then there's a line right here with something over here, this text right here, I can't read it, but it's the one that is going across the Antarctic ice wall. There's a stream right there that goes all the way through. It is not closed off. Like a boat could go through that.
but there's only one problem.
Well,
We're
yeah,
not
I mean,
allowed. We're not allowed to leave. We're not allowed to leave. We're not allowed to leave all that entire ice wall. We can travel
yeah, we're not going to
anywhere
be
inside
able.
that.
Yeah,
We can travel anywhere inside the ice wall, but we can't leave the ice wall.
and this, of course, is based on a what kind of Earth?
Flat Earth.
Yeah, it's a flat Earth map.
So,
So based on the dome models, the dome
hmm
models are all flat, correct?
yeah, yes.
Okay.
Now,
Sorry.
if you go near the ice wall, which I'm going to read chapter 3 in here in a bit. If you go near the ice wall via plane, you'll get stopped.
Yeah,
If you go by via boat, you'll get stopped
battleships,
because
man.
inside the ice wall, a lot of countries have what is called the Antarctic Treaty because they don't want people to know what's beyond the ice wall. And the only
Well,
way you can actually get past the ice wall, not plane, boat.
wouldn't wouldn't you think? Wouldn't you think though that it's not because they don't like technically it's because they don't want us to know, but wouldn't you think actually what it is the reason they don't tell us is because if we were to know that there was more land, everything would go down in price. People would leave. People would go to the new land and they would start building there. And that's the whole thing is like you don't want more countries to begin. You don't want more of that to happen because then the money goes elsewhere. It gets outsourced. And then the rich people aren't rich anymore. Things aren't worth as much as they were before. Everything becomes pretty cheap. And the model that they have us in that tiny little ice wall, I mean, that makes sense. Like, people been calling us forever the prison planet because, like, if you think about it, we work all day for absolutely nothing. And most of us are going to do that until we die because there's a very good chance that Social Security and retirement won't happen for our generation crew.
Well, here's another thing that we also got to remember. You brought up the land of the clones, right?
Yeah,
They're more of a prison planet than we are.
for sure. But I think we're headed in that direction. And the reason I say that is because all we do is consume and all we do is create, but we don't necessarily create in a good way. If we were creating in a good way, everything would be art. Everything would look beautiful. Everything would be praising God. But what we have in this world is a lot of demon worship, a lot of really bad people, a lot of serial killers, a lot of terrorists, a lot of SA things. That's what happens in this world. And that's why I look at it and I'm like, technically, I feel like if anybody's running this planet, it's freaking Lucifer. And the people that are praying to Jesus, the whole reason they do it is so they get to go to the kingdom of heaven and they don't have to stay here. For real. Like, that's what I think. I think Jesus is like, I'll save you. I'll take you up to heaven. I'll take you up to the kingdom of God. You don't have to stay here on Lucifer's plane because I feel like we're being judged right now. And the dome world would make sense
Yeah.
if we were actually being judged. Like, I know that sounds like biblical or whatnot, but it's not really meant to be. I know it's going to be taken that way to a lot of different people, but I feel like if anybody's running this place right now, it's not the good. It's we're being tried. Like, basically, do you know what the newfound Christians believe? They're a group called the Newfound Christians. Do you know what they believe?
What?
They believe that that we are going through what's called the little summer right now, And little summer is basically Jesus had 2,000 years of reign already. That's what Tartaria was. That was what all the creation was that was when Jesus, King of Kings, was ruler of all of the world for 2,000 years. Then what happened was after 2,000 years, Jesus was like, all right, I've got a whole bunch of people here that trust and believe in me, but now I have to, the creator is telling me I have to basically test all of you guys. So I'm going to release Lucifer, and he's going to come up here and he's going to reign for 2,000 years or whatever. And then I'm going to come back. And that's what they believe. That's what the newfound Christians believe. They believe that Jesus is going to come back after Satan's 2,000-year reign. And that's what we're in right now. Is we're in the little summer. And by God's rule, 2,000 years is only 2 days. So think about that for a second. According to God, 2,000 years is only 2 days. So it's
Right.
not long for them at all. It's basically we're just waiting for him to return, or for them to return, the gods of the old. Which it's now starting to come out that the pyramids and shit, right? In Giza, how they're finding out that those are basically power plants now, and like Tesla was correct that those are giant power plants. Who built those? Can any of you tell me who built those? And don't say Egyptians and don't say slaves, because neither of them built those.
Okay.
If those are power plants, man, back then, they had a grid back then. Like the more and more I think about Terra Infinita, man, it just starts making more and more and more sense. And it really bothers me because I know it's supposed to be fictional. Like I know it's supposed to be fake, but it just starts making more and more and more sense. Like why this land would be hidden from us, and the whole reason to hide the land is basically so we have to continue to consume and continue to buy and continue to do what they want us to do.
Can you pull up a map of the land of the custodians? Because that's what chapter 3 is.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I will pull it up.
Okay.
Julie, what do you think about all of that?
Well, yeah, because I'm a Christian. I do believe that when he's ready to come back, he'll come back for us. We just always got to be ready, because he can come in a twinkling of an eye. Just putting that out there. So, you just never know what day or hour, but I'm telling you, it feels like it's getting closer and closer because of all the evil and all the corruption we're seeing, all these different signs, because there's always these signs that people look at, like the earthquakes or fires and different things. So you just never know the time or the
Yeah, dude,
hour.
it's crazy. It's crazy how many earthquakes and wildfires have been happening lately. Like it's absolutely insane, actually, and it doesn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. But
You know what? You know what would
it's a tough
be
one.
so weird? Okay, so Robert, you know how we talked about that we're in a simulation?
Yes,
Well, let's say if we are in a simulation, right?
uh-huh.
Allegedly. What
I
if
like where this is
God,
going.
God,
Uh-huh.
or
Which, by the
his
way, guys, if wait a second, crew, I got to make this very clear to everybody. If we're in a simulation, then the Christians and the Jews are right. There's a God. And the reason why there has to be a God if this is a simulation is because somebody created the simulation. I hate to tell everybody, but yes, there would be a God. There would 100% be a God if we're in a simulation.
And
100.
you're talking about how this is a prison planet, right?
Yes.
And you're talking about how Jesus was around for 2,000 years, and now Lucifer's around for 2,000 years, as in Satan, Lucifer.
Yeah.
Let's say, okay, they go into the simulation, right?
Yeah.
So whoever is outside of the simulation watching everything at headquarters, let's say headquarters, right? They have a whole control center where their angels are controlling the weather.
I mean, maybe. But what I actually think happened, not what I think happened, what the newfound Christians think happened is basically Lucifer was locked up here, okay? Like the creator or God, whatever you want to call him, Christians would call him God, the Jews would call him Adonai. Some Christians would call him Adonai also. But basically Adonai locked up Satan in a cave and like here on earth, and he was locked up, like he couldn't go anywhere, he wasn't allowed to go anywhere, and it supposedly was deep into the earth's crust. Like even if he escaped, he would have never been able to get out. Like
Yeah,
it
and
just wouldn't
that's
have happened. Yeah.
and
So
my
that was
belief's that true.
yeah,
And he
so
won't
you
be
do.
released until Jesus allows him to come back and do
So
his
so the
evil
newfound
deeds.
so the newfound Christians believe that happened. They believe that already happened. So
Wow.
they believe that back in the times of the Tartarians, that was when Jesus's reign was. That was when the King of Kings reigned. So basically, Jesus had the throne back then, and he was like Parliament, like the British Parliament, and like that whole building where the Queen lived and all that shit. Apparently, that was like headquarters for Jesus. Like that whole area was. So that was all his originally, apparently.
Wow.
Um, but they built all those beautiful buildings, and then they all started getting torn down after Jesus left. And if you look at the older days or whatnot, there's these things called resets, where you're starting to realize that there were civilizations here way before we were. So there could have possibly been civilizations here before the dinosaurs were here, and we're starting to realize this. Like we are not the first humans. We thought we were. We thought we were. We were so for sure that we were. But now it's starting to make so much more sense that there were humans on American soil way before America was ever America, and way before the Neanderthals were even around. So like cavemen, like we're talking smart humanoid beings that were already here. And if that's the case, I don't think it ruins God. Like everybody's like, well that ruins God. No, it doesn't. Somebody had to create them. And who's to say that he didn't like make mistakes? Sometimes you create shit and it's not what you wanted to create, and say those things fight each other till they die, or God forbid, they crack the like being crew we're talking about, they crack the simulation and get out or something like that, and he can't control them. And I think maybe that's where we get demons. You have to think that somebody made them. And that's why I say if simulation theory is correct, every Christian should be rejoicing, because that means you do have a God. 100% you guys are correct if this is a simulation. If it's not a simulation and it's evolution, we're all screwed and we're just going to die. That's just what happens. But if it's not evolution and it's a simulation, yeah, no, we all have a God and something bigger is planned here. And I truthfully believe that. And that would make sense why all these domes are in different areas. Like that he would have created all of these different places, the creator. Does that make
Yep.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. As long as I don't sound crazy or nothing. It's
No, it
I've been
makes
thinking a
complete
lot
sense, and
about
I
it.
agree with you
Yeah.
I've been
100%.
thinking about it a lot lately because when I think about Terra Infinita, like the reason it makes so much more sense is if this is a simulation, then that just proves the point that there is somebody running all of it and that somebody created every one of these places. And maybe they did it on accident. Like who's to say that we're not like that God is who God is or that Jesus is who Jesus is? I truly believe they probably are. We have actual proof that Jesus was a person. We have actual proof that Jesus was crucified, and we have actual proof that some miracles probably did actually happen that Jesus claimed to have do. Such as the walking on water, we actually had over 2,000 people that witnessed it and wrote it down in biblical scriptures.
Yeah.
So like he actually did perform some kind of miracles. And I think that some people like him, I mean, maybe not specifically him, because maybe he was like the first of his kind and the simulation creator put him here and they have some direct connection, which that would just prove even more that we're in a simulation. That the creator would have some kind of connection with this person because it is his genuine son. Is it came from a part of him directly, whereas we came from him, but we may have been created.
Yeah.
Okay, as long as that makes sense to everybody and I don't sound crazy.
Yeah.
All right, can you pull up that map for me, good
Yeah,
sir?
I got it right here actually. Boom.
Okay. Um, Chapter 3, the land of custodians. The priestic race, as we briefly indicated in the first chapter, are beings that base their technology on attack and defense weapons, using all their potential in the discovery, colonization, and exploitation of other lands, as well as the beings they can find. Their beginning is unclear and full of questions. There are theories among the giants where it is said that the custodial race was attacked by some other race that did not even come from the Great Dome, and that they merged with the locals to create a great force that later gave origin to the custodians. This would explain the reason for their great development over other races that were still in their infancy trying to survive within their circles. The custodians, it is said, were the first to leave their world and advance on their way to the others. With great destructive and colonizing power, having reached each of the worlds and tried to explore around the known end of the worlds. While there have been defeated on at least two known occasions by two completely different races, it is certain that they are also vengeful and that if they have not yet tried again, they soon will. The custodians, as the only race, were the ones who attempted to enter the celestial lands. That very little is known. These lands are the most mysterious of all the known worlds. And while all or almost all the races existing today are aware of this place. They few dare to want to penetrate it. The story goes that humanity, in a way, comes from these lands, and that each of the humans, have the source of the life energy, also called soul, that comes from these lands. Therefore, human destiny is to confront the custodians that whatever is done, the great clash will be inevitable. Although it has been already been tried, and the great forces between humans and custodians have collided. With the help of the Anakim giants and others, history will surely repeat itself again in these lands. For that reason, we are very aware of everything that happens here. An opportunity to free humanity will be used to the fullest. Also, we cannot make the mistakes of the past. Otherwise, it is possible that now we may never have another opportunity. For each reset, the security becomes stronger, and the human standard of living becomes less and less free. The humanity that is living now is nothing like that of the ancestor in these same lands, nor that of my ancestor to the previous one. Each reset is worse, stricter, with less freedom and greater manipulation. We escaped from these lands during the Great War. Against them, the giants helped us to form a large block and confront them before everything got out of control. Unfortunately, when the hard defeat came, we knew that everything was going to get worse for those born here. Besides, they know that many escaped and that we would be in danger to all the manipulation and lies in these lands and their spread and control. Let's see. Here. It would be difficult to generate another new great Tartary, the Great Tartary.
Yeah, Tartaria.
Yeah, with all the free technology and the great cities that we were able to forge. The truth is that we had the hope that victory and freedom would finally be ours. But by those things of destiny, we did not achieve it. We know that it was very close, but it it is also true. Or no, very hold on, where was I at? But it was also true that the defeat would bring more misery to a new humanity. The risk was very high. The babies who are less than 7 months old are left the disposal of the custodians in these lands, who, with their technology, take them little by little to a new beginning. The beginning is sudden and in various parts of the known continent. So there will always be a part that will not have parents, grandparents, and so it will be until forgotten. Once the number they set is reached, they will begin to manipulate the human to take them on the path they have decided. The vestiges of a past life will be intermingled as their own. Even if the human of that time cannot reproduce it nor have the necessary tools. Nothing will be questioned as long as everything can be demonstrated by the great leaders or media, scientists, historians, scholars, celebrities, and all kinds of prestige,
What was that?
facetious, I guess is how you say it.
I have
Prestige,
no.
I don't know. It's hard to say. It starts with an F. That they will invent depending on what stage of development the race is in. The technology will be delivered in small installments until it can reach the level that is also previously established by their leaders. The custodians are arrogant beings who detest the human being. For them, the human being is a horrible being who smells bad and does not deserve any freedom. The custodial leaders are also hostile and always were hostile to our race. This is why they control it, but they also do not allow anything to get out of the pre-established control. They would even carry out a reset before knowing that at least a single human could escape. The leaders many times met with the intention of eliminating the human race, but there was much debate about it, especially for the tasks that are carried out here. That would bring much discussion among the same custodians. Plus, there is a small part that the great relationship with the leaders, many are part of lodges, military, or politicians who came to have direct contact with them and were rewarded with their passage to other lands. For example, the existing colony in the land of Mars. A story of the last reset where my grandparents were able to escape along with my mother, who at the time was a baby, was due to the Great War that took place in these lands more than 250 years ago. But on alert, the sprays who thought they dominated these lands with ease until the union of giants and humans really shook their power. In the war, it is said that one of their most important leaders died at the hands of the great slash human or giants slash humans, and this also caused that the new human beginning is these lands with babies of a few months was carried out under a strict control and manipulation. It is what we are seeing in the current days, and that we will all continue to see the near future of if things do not change. The custodians are carnivores for the most part, although they can really eat all kinds of food. Do they eat human flesh? I will not come back to this question, or I will come back to this question later, as I think it is worth talking about. They know agriculture well, being pioneers and experts in that field, something they inculcate and educate the human after each reset to carry out these tasks of agriculture and animal husbandry so that they can then increase their population as fast as possible. They're, they receive pleasure from human fear or sadness. All that negative energy can be absorbed by them that they really end up enjoying it. That is why
Tell me
it
more,
is
man.
common. That is why it is common to see great sacrifices in ancient civilizations or great tragedies. The thirst for human blood, they enjoy these sacrifices, and and in many stories we can find that they feed on this. They reached they reached a great development in the modification of the climate, and it is common that they create great walls of ice around the colonized lands. This they began to use in the last times, since before they had not reached this development. The walls serve them as a great shield to be able to protect or enclose even more the colonized races. In this way, it is very difficult for them to escape, even when they have to leave some worlds by necessity to go in search of another. That was chapter 3.
The end of that, what was the V word you said?
Hold on.
Like you said some words there that I'm like, what the hell did you say?
On the last page,
Yeah, you said it was like at the very end there. You said something with a V.
the walls serve them as a great shield to be able to protect or enclose even more the colonized races. In this way, it is very difficult for them to escape, even when they have to leave some worlds by necessity to go in
By
search of
necessity?
another.
Did you say by
Necessity. Yes.
necessity? That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I was like, I thought you said vicessity. I was like, what the heck is vicessity? But necessity makes more sense in that term. But yeah, no, that book's freaking heckin'. Like that's super interesting.
It's
I am
very.
totally drawn into it. I need to buy it. I found it on Amazon for $21. I
I
think
mean, like,
he literally wants to do an entire series on this book. So I think that's what we're doing.
yeah, we are. Here's my thing. We did one chapter on the first part. We did 2 chapters on the second part. I'm doing 3 chapters on the next part
Yeah,
because there's like 29 chapters.
that's crazy.
And it's
Hmm.
It
so interesting.
it is, and it. The crazy thing is it makes quite a bit of sense.
And we're about
That's
to find out later on in the book whether or not if the custodians were cannibals.
it would make sense. Like, did you know that the only place in the world or the only place in the United States that where cannibalism is legal is like Idaho? Why is it legal to eat somebody in Idaho? Cannibalism is not illegal in Idaho. That is really weird. I think it's
That is
Idaho.
weird.
Like, I would have to look at it again, but yeah, that's just a fun fact. Like, of course, nobody is eating people in Idaho, but if they were, they wouldn't get in trouble for
Oh my goodness.
it.
But we got some videos for y'all tonight, so
Cue the videos. Let's see what we got tonight.
The flat Earth ice wall, they call it Antarctica.
Is that your ice wall crew?
yeah, that's the ice wall.
Okay.
There are no aliens. There's just the civilizations that live beyond the ice wall.
The hell you talking about?
See, they want you to believe that there's these alien civilizations out in the depths of outer space that may or may not be coming to get you, but it's just a facade. The reality is that there are simply civilizations beyond what we can observe, beyond the ice wall, right here on planet Earth, but just in regions we have been kept from seeing, kept from knowing about. These civilizations beyond the ice wall, as you could imagine, have technology far beyond what we can fathom, and so when they fly above us in their inconceivably advanced ships, we kind of misconstrue it with the idea of quote-unquote aliens from space, when in reality it's just advanced civilizations from Earth. But of course, the oligarchs want you to be scared and have this fear of the great unknown, and so they peddle this narrative about outer space and alien encounter theories. The whole time all of these other advanced beings are right here on Earth.
Well, that's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
That's always plausible. That all of those other beings would already be here. I've thought that before.
Wait, you're telling me there's a whole continent beyond the ice wall?
Not just a continent, an entire civilization. A place completely outside the parameters of our sun.
That's impossible. Nothing can survive without light.
That's what we thought, but Panthea exists, a world of eternal night where life has adapted to the dark in ways we can't even begin to understand.
So what, these people live in caves or something?
Far from it. They've built a thriving society, but one without warmth, without mercy, without the distractions of color and joy. Their capital, Nysara, is a vast metropolis of black stone and bioluminescent crystal, its spires clawing into the sky like jagged monoliths.
That's insane. And you're saying they're human?
Not exactly. They're a biological offshoot of us, something that evolved in complete darkness. Their skin is pale, almost translucent. Their eyes, 5 times the size of ours. Their bones, denser, stronger. They are built for the abyss.
That's horrifying.
It gets worse. They don't just survive the darkness, they feed off it. Energy harvesting farms powered by their own people.
Wait.
You heard me. In Panthea, the weak aren't just discarded, they're consumed.
So Panthea, they're a race that are part of the dark lands.
Right.
I think that's the only picture we know of that's beyond the ice wall.
If it's real.
Right.
I've seen it before.
Me too.
What if I told you this isn't the only world we know? Beyond Antarctica's ice wall, some believe there are hidden lands, secret continents, an entire dark land the government doesn't want us to know about. Jonathan Hemington claimed to have seen these forbidden lands, territories beyond the ice, untouched by modern civilization, a place where unknown creatures and powerful beings exist. Flash eerie images of unknown landscapes, ancient ruins, and strange symbols. Why is Antarctica so restricted? Why are we told it's just ice? Could there be something they don't want us to find? This theory beloved by flat earthers. Some say it's just a theory, and other laughs at idea. Conspiracy or truth? This story is something we must take lightly. If you want to hear more about Jonathan Hemington's story, I'll drop a part 2. But only if this video hits 30 likes.
Only 30 likes? Go like
Oh
that
my
30
goodness.
times, Drew.
But yeah, John Hemington, apparently he discovered the Darklands.
The Darklands. Alrighty then.
Yo, did you know on this map right here, there's a second Earth? Check this out. So guys, in one of my videos, I talked about this book right here. And in that book, they talked about all these lands that's beyond the ice wall. And one of those lands is called the second Earth, land of the clones. So guys, this is how the second Earth, lands of the clones look like. As you can see, the continents on here are similar to the original Earth continents. Even got some of the names similar to the original Earth. Now, the author of this book said the purpose of creating this land was to experiment on human cloning with the people from the original Earth. Now, when I read that, it reminded me of a movie that came out in 2005 called The Island. On that island, it was all about cloning humans. Now, guys, I know this stuff sounds really, really crazy, but you gotta look at it this way. The government has been keeping stuff from us for a long time, and they've been lying to us. So, something like this, you never know. But remember this, think for yourself and do your own research. Peace, get woke, and keep rising.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's similar to what I was saying.
Right.
Not only did you fly over the ice wall in a stolen jet, you found the dark continent, encountered the Pantheons, and got electromagnetically compelled to allow them to board the aircraft and bring them back here. I mean, look, you said you flew the jet for 30 hours beyond the ice wall. Everybody in the comments is kind of getting on your case about that.
Understandably, I mean, look, people like to gloss over the facts, right? The details. I mean, go back and listen. I said that the research and development center I took this jet from was working with unprecedented design patents. Okay, the fuel efficiency on these things would never be publicized, but regardless, look, as I'm flying back in, right after leaving the Dark Continent with these Pantheons on board with me, you know, this is where things tense up. As soon as I get back within the ice wall, I've got 5 or 6 fighter jets behind me. I'm thinking, you know, this must be government or something. Obviously didn't want to let me re-enter the inner world after having discovered the reality of the outer lands. The Pantheons on board kind of shift their focus off of me and onto the imminent threat of these other jets on our tail, right? At which point I hear one of the other pilots radioing in over the traffic control. He goes, "You know how this ends, kid. I told you once you left, there was no coming back." And as I hear the lock-on warning start going off, time just kind of slowed down.
They were going to send missiles.
Exactly. And I'm thinking, you know, let them do it, right? I mean, it would prevent these Pantheons from entering our world. Realized I had probably moments to make a move. And as the incoming threat detection alert system starts going haywire, off pure instinct, I punch the...
So he's not going to finish the story?
It's in multiple parts. I'll have to find the other parts.
Gotcha.
In this video, I'm going to talk about this land that's beyond the ice wall. Name of this land is Lands of Custodians. Now, it's talked about in this book called The 178 Worlds Under the Great Dome. Now, I want to say this. This is for entertainment purposes only. So this right here comes from chapter 3 in the ebook. And this is what they said about the custodians. This parasitic race, as we briefly indicated in the first chapter, are beings that base their technology on attack and defense weapons, using their potential in the discovery, colonization, and exportation of others, as well as the beings they can find. So guys, after reading that, I started thinking about the story that they told us about colonization that happened here on Earth. So is this person that wrote this book, are they saying that there's another land beyond the ice wall that has been conquered by colonization, just like here on Earth? So guys, what you think? Peace, get woke, and keep rising.
Well, it would only make sense if these people were, if these other people were colonizing the other lands, if it was possible.
Right.
It makes sense.
Oh yeah.
In this video, I'm going to talk about this.
So I don't understand why they were using the top video of the two
Okay.
suns or the
So
second.
in the beginning of the video, right, where they showed ours, the known lands, right? Inside our circle was a sun,
Hmm.
but outside of that, outside the ice wall was another sun.
Right, the second sun.
Right.
Okay.
So supposedly, Earth has two suns.
Yeah.
That's why the top of that video was like that.
Well, fun fact, we have caught double suns in the sky, which NASA is always like, "Oh, we don't know why that happens. It's not two suns though, it's only one." No, it's most definitely two suns. And they're both in the sky at the same time. And we've had that happen more than once. And
Right.
people have caught that on video. So the fact that that does happen makes it sound even more realistic.
Right.
Like, that's the crazy thing. You know, a lot of people also believe that there's like an inner sun too.
Yeah. Which um
Huh?
proves the hollow Earth.
Yeah. The hollow.
That is basically talking about the pyramid that was discovered in Antarctica.
Well, I think it was also trying to say that flat Earth is real because pyramids don't curve.
Right.
But that's Kind of weird.
It was neat looking though.
Right.
Brandon, Katy Perry didn't go to space. None of those girls went to space. Not a single one of them. Space doesn't exist, bro. Space is stupid.
In this video, I'm going to talk about this land that's beyond the ice wall. Name of this land is Lands of Custodians. Now, it's talked about in this book.
The Terra Infinita map. This is for entertainment purposes only. The Lands of Quayor, which is located right next door on the right, on this side, to the Land of the Custodians. Now, what's interesting about this particular set of islands, continents, whatever you want to call them, is that they're completely accessible except for two things. Number one, you're going to have jagged ice sticking up and they move. And then you have ocean fog, which makes it almost impossible to see them until you run up on them. They do have their own sun. What's particularly interesting about this is that I'm finding that they don't have any direct correlation with any other civilization. So it could be habited or uninhabited, which then brings us to these two little islands over here, Lands of Mut and Lands of Atum Ra. Now, these two little lands have a direct correlation with Geminia, which, as you see, is within the known lands, or Earth, which is also directly linked with the Anunnaki's lands, as we see here with the lands of Seth and the Sea of Horus. So, as we see here, lands of Atum Ra goes directly back to Egypt, or they came from there and went to Egypt, which then takes us to lands of Mut, as you see depicted here. Mut was a maternal goddess in ancient Egyptian religion who represented creation, fertility, and nurturing. She was known as the Mother of the World, Lady of Heaven, and Queen of the Goddesses. She was associated with the waters from which everything was born and influenced the Nile floods, which were vital to Egyptian life. Like I said, you can access these, but it's surrounded in a very deep ocean fog, and you won't see the iceberg till you get right up on it. And they say that Mut and all her children, which these would be her little children around her, reside there to this day. And the lands of Atum Ra, you can see it's kind of desolate, kind of like a desert around it. And then you have a forest within it. And then there is a deep lake. And in this particular lake is where we think that the serpent Apophis lives. Apophis was a large golden snake known to be miles long, supposed to be released at the end of the world, which is very similar to somewhere else in the known lands, which is Asgard, Ragnarok, which, as I stated, is derived from Norse mythology. The next lands we're going to be covering aren't as accessible, but like, share, follow, comment, because we're going to get into it.
So what about those ones, crew?
That's a lot.
Over here you have the Anunnaki lands, and then over here you have Neptune. But first, I want to touch on these two islands. Theras de Gilgamesh and Lands of Enkidu. This is a depiction of Gilgamesh. But who was he? Gilgamesh is a hero in ancient Mesopotamian mythology and the main character in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh may have been a real king of Uruk in Mesopotamia during the early dynastic period. There is a poem that led to myths about his divine status. The poem Gilgamesh is described as the son of the goddess Ninsun and a human king, making him 2/3 god and 1/3 man. He is depicted as an arrogant, impulsive, and irresponsible ruler who disrespects the gods and opposes his people. Which then brings us to the lands of Enkidu. Enkidu was a beast-like companion to Gilgamesh. And as you see, this one has an ice ring around it too, with 2 places to get in. You have 3 places here, but this is a land that is not land. It's completely underwater, like a water world. I believe these are continents, essentially, in their world that are deeply underwater. Triton and Poseidon are essentially the same person. It's one entity by 2 different names. Do you see how the water is light blue and then it gets darker here and then darker there? This is what I picture when I think about it. Also, I think of this type of being. This is from the movie Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro. They can live out of water, but not for too long. This is an actual photo of things that they have found underwater, even here. So it stands to reason that some of them did get out and come to the known lands. Otherwise, these stories over here in the known lands would not have emerged. But like I said, I think of these areas like the lighter blue to be more shallow. And then once you get places like this, it's so deep underwater. And we have here in Greek mythology, Triton was a merman and a demigod of the sea. And it says here that he lived with his parents in a golden palace at the bottom of the ocean. So again, I think this is where it would be located. Which then brings us to Nereida. In the depths of the Mediterranean Sea live the Nereidas, a race of nymphs that accompany Poseidon, the god of the sea. Legends say that the Nereidas live in silvery caves, far from human eyes, only coming to the surface when a sailor or ship is in trouble. Which is probably where we get the story The Little Mermaid, whose father was King Triton, so she would be a Nereida. That type of merfish. Like, comment, share, and follow for another part of the Terra Infinita map.
That makes a lot of sense.
Merfish.
Yeah. Because I've heard of that. I've heard that before. Somewhere.
Merfish.
The Terra Infinita map. Yesterday we discussed the known lands, which is here, Mars, which is here, and today we're going to be talking about the Anunnaki lands. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. TikTok, don't get your panties in a wad. Yesterday we discussed the route you would have to take, which would be from the known lands through the Summer Gate, up here, all the way down, cross over through this little break in the ice ring around Mars to get into Area. So you would basically have to cross the likes of Antarctica onto another treacherous mountain range, and then you end up in a land of desolation. Let me explain on the Anunnaki lands. Now, the Anunnaki lands is kind of broken into 2 parts. We believe that at some point this part of the Anunnaki lands was inhabited, but they mined a lot of it. So if you could picture like a Grand Canyon type terrain. Which brings us back to Geminia. That's where you're going to get some of your Egyptian culture from. But you're also going to get another subsect from here. From like Enki. Most of this has all been mined. And as you see, the middle section, they have what looks like a black rock. Same as the known lands. We believe that's why they actually came here in the past, is because we had an environment that used to be much like theirs, but if it looks like this now, then these are just mountains. So basically they strip mined all of this, so it's complete desolation. And that explains why we have our Grand Canyon and why the artifacts that have been found in the Grand Canyon and etc. So like even if you did cross the ice ring from Mars into this mountainous area, then you either land here in the lands of Seth, which as I said, these would have been their islands, are broken into 2. If it is inhabited, these little small tiny islands with the lush greenery would probably be the inhabited zone. And as you see, they have an ice ring, the Sea of Horus. They have another mountainous couple of areas that is protected by another ice ring. But like I say, if it's not desolate, then why did they want to come to the known lands and mine it? So we wouldn't even be thinking about going there, I wouldn't think. Which takes me back to Geminia. Now, at some point, there was a split with the Egyptians. Akhenaten decided that none of the Egyptian gods should be worshipped anymore, and that only the sun god should be worshipped. I believe it was Akhenaten. Okay, yes. So it would have been Aton, yes. But after he unalived, they did in fact go back to the old gods. Back to the same Egyptian ones. So somewhere along the way, their homeland was originally in Geminia, but they changed over to the lands of Seth. And if you remember, Seth was the god of violence. Then you would have like Anubis, the god of death. So in my mind, you would have Geminia Seth and Geminia Horus. So you would have Seth ruling over here, Horus ruling over here right below the Anunnaki's lands. And you can imagine how that went, right? At some point, there was an alliance. This was part 4. Join me for part 5, the lands of the custodians.
This lady knows so much.
She does.
She
It's
did her
interesting.
research. She has done her research. That's a good thing.
You know, people are always asking where this moon came from. Well, you gotta understand, man, the Zeta Grays live on the outside of the ice wall. They're from a whole different, completely different realm. Earth is a lot bigger than what they told y'all. And the safest way to get to these realms is to go under the earth. Because under the earth, they have tunnels that lead to these realms, and it's not cold. Like, say, for example, you leave outside the realm. If you don't got no spaceship, you're not getting there. If you ain't got some type of aerial craft, you're not gonna be able to get there. So a lot of our ancestors, they take the ancient underground tunnels to get to Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, all these different places, which are districts. I call them districts. And you can actually travel there through the underground tunnels. And, you know, that's how you can pretty much get to these places. So the Zeta Grays, they came from outside of the ice wall, and they brought the moon. And they are like pirates in this realm, this third dimensional realm. They take over lands, they extract the resources, and they establish a religion to worship them because they're a jealous god. And so Terra, which is Earth, is the center of this whole entire realm. And we used to run this realm, Atlantis, Lemuria, and all these different places. So our ancestors actually left back to our realm to get reinforcements to come back and wage war against these Zeta Gray pirates and their clones. And so when we retake this Earth, everybody's going to have to go back to where they came from, pretty much, back to their own realms. This map is called Terra Infinita, right? So the world that you know it is a lot bigger than what you think it is. Like I said, one of the first things the Zeta Grays did when they got to our realm was capture all the blue Kachita and basically, you know, harnessing the power and using it for their own benefit, to use it as like a soul harvester, so to basically trap you here after you die. And if it wasn't there, you would return back to your ancient realms, which is, you know, whatever, you know, the Aurora Borealis that's pushing that energy, that portal, that's where you're from.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I was saying. Like we're kind of stuck here until we break free.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, we've hit the last video for the night, so you know what that means. After this video, the Robert and Crew show will be over. We thank all of our fans for staying, tuning in, watching, our viewers for being loyal. And if you enjoyed the stream tonight, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps us grow. It helps us grow our base, and we want to kind of branch out as much as we can. We love having people on the podcast, so if you want to do an interview or you just want to come on the podcast to hang out, let me know. DM me. We'll figure something out. I know this Friday we got our interviews going to happen this Friday now, because he couldn't do it last time because he got sick. So the lumberjack interview will take place on Friday, and we're gonna figure out some more stuff to do this week. But other than that, I'm gonna play this last video real quick.
Okay, so I wanted to cover the race of the species because, you know, to me it has to make sense. Okay, so this is what I gather here. The black sun is in the center, right? The center, this is where all this dimension, third dimension, comes from, right? It comes from the center of our realm, actually, and the black sun is what made this third dimension. Okay, so I feel like the children of Tiamat are from the fifth dimension, the dimension outside of what's known here. All this higher dimension above everything. It's like looking at the world like this. So I believe that the black races here are actually from the fifth dimension that manifested into the third dimensional realm, right? And then you got the Anunnaki, who are just living in this third dimensional realm over time, who needed resources and all that there, which are a technologically advanced species, but they don't have no melanin in these land here. Their sun is very dim, you know, there's hardly any light coming from these lands here, and that's why they had to go get gold, because they needed to protect themselves from the sun. So that's how you know that they're not heavy melanated people. But when they did come here to war with Tiamat, you know, they disrupted the basically the civilization that we had here. Okay, so not only did they disrupt the civilization that we had, but they also needed a people to mine gold for them in South Africa. And that's the reason why there's a lot of Neanderthals actually in South Africa. That's actually their home. They're actually from South Africa. That's where they originally were created at. And also in the Caucasus Mountains as well. But they were placed in South Africa to work and mine for gold for the Anunnaki. And it was the Anunnaki that came into our world and created a hybridized species using the Neanderthal. And that's how you get your common man today. And the Anunnaki are actually a colonizing people. They're a Confederate people. You know what I mean? They're people that take over lands. And so their DNA is in the Neanderthal heavy. You know, I would say half and half. You know what I'm saying? The other half is the Neanderthal that was roaming the wildlands in Africa. And that's where this sudden change science can't explain where the Neanderthal actually comes, the man actually comes from, because it's like the rapid evolution from being a monkey to a man. So this is where it's coming from. It's coming from the technological advances of the Anunnaki. And after they did what they did, they basically, you know, went back home and left them in there to be in charge of the lands, and also put the custodians over our lands as well. And so they really want what we have here. You know what I mean? They really want what we have, you know, because we have a fifth dimensional power within us, and we have the ability to transcend this whole realm. You know, they're trying to get into the celestial lands, right? They keep trying to penetrate, but you can't go into this realm in the third dimensional body. And so they keep pulverizing every time they try to go into there. But we're not even from this whole, the black people in this realm here, we're not even from this realm. We're from the higher dimension. So don't even consider yourself with anything that's going on. Just keep working on your inner self, and, you know, keep raising your kundalini. And eventually this world, our whole district is going to go to a fifth dimensional realm. So like I told these people that, and the reason why also the Anunnaki is jealous of the Neanderthal. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the Neanderthal has to go against its ways because they have the DNA of the colonizing entity inside of them. But they also have the ability to ascend into the higher realms as well, because they evolved from Earth. The Neanderthal evolved from Earth until it was changed into a man. So they still have that DNA where they can evolve into with the world as well. So the Anunnaki are jealous of Neanderthals as well. So the Anunnaki is just a technologically advanced species, but they don't have no mystical powers within them. They are from this dimension here. They were created from this dimension. They evolved on this realm before the Neanderthal did just evolve, just like everybody else did. Evolution is real in other districts. People evolve. You know, ants evolve into, ant people and reptilians, reptiles evolve into draconians. So they evolve. Beings do evolve. So we are not Anunnaki. We are the children of Tiamat, which are from the fifth dimension. And every being that is here is the original creature of every single district, because everything comes from the center, the black hole. So I just wanted to share that.
He sounds like me, going off on a tangent.
But yeah, Brandon, you're right. I agree.
Or not.
I agree. I think there is, but I don't. But it's all alleged though.
Well, there probably is a Stargate, but we'll have to leave that one for another episode.
Yeah.
As of anyways, guys, that was the Robert and Crew show tonight. That was Terra Infinita Part 2. We had Julian as a special guest, and Crew, thanks for wanting to do another one of these episodes. I'm sure you're going to want to do some more.
Heck yeah. And Julie, question.
Yes.
How would you like to be part of the Terra Infinita series?
I wouldn't mind. It's pretty interesting.
All right.
Okay. All right.
And
Well,
let's don't forget about the JFK tomorrow night.
Yep.
Yep.
We got that one. And we also, like I said, we have that interview on Friday, and after that, we'll have some more stuff that I'm sure Crew will put together. So, in the meantime, guys, like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Go back to our YouTube channel. I've posted links to our YouTube channel on the Robert and Crew page on Facebook. If you're bored, you could go to that YouTube channel. There's over 66, probably over now 60, maybe even over 70 videos on that YouTube channel now that anybody can watch, and that's all of our podcasts. But anyways, thank you guys. I had a wonderful night. I think we all had a wonderful night. We will all see you later. Much love from the Robert and Crew Show. Peace.
If you don't like boring news but still crave the truth, then dive into The Robert and Crew Show. From mind-bending conspiracy theories to wild weather phenomena, we've got it all. Ever wondered what's really happening in your hometown, or what secrets the global news isn't telling you? We dig deep into the core of every story, unraveling the mysteries one podcast at a time. Join Robert and the crew as we navigate this vibrant, ever-changing cyberpunk landscape, bringing you interviews with the most intriguing minds out there. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, a news junkie or a weather enthusiast, there's something here for you. So strap in, listeners, because we're about to take you on a ride through the neon-lit alleys of truth and intrigue. This is the Robert and Crew Show, where the future meets the fantastic.